Okay, good evening. This is MELS 601, October 24th, clinical Zoom session. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Sorry, I've been on the road all afternoon. I was in training for the last couple of days, and so I'm a little road weary. But anyway, appreciate all you guys coming on board and being with me tonight. Is just a question and answer session. I just, at this point in time, we've talked about, I know with Dr. Todd, you've talked about the APSL, task 1 through 5. We've gone over task stream, which I can do that again if you need me to. So tonight is really what you need. It is all about you. So I'm going to go ahead and open up for any questions. If there's anything you'd like for me to go over again, or if there's any questions you have, we'll go ahead and take care of that just as soon as we can. You can either, I feel like one of those radio announcers, like talk show hosts, where, hey, call in, I want to hear from you, and then nobody calls in, and so you got dead air. But that's good. That's good. If you don't have any questions or if there's no concerns, and of course we're gonna stay online for a little bit this evening just to see. You can either type it into the chat box, or of course, unmute yourself and let me know what your question is, or once again, if there's anything I need to review, especially in task stream, I can do that. While I'm kind of letting everybody get their thoughts together, there is a couple of things I want to mention to you. We're past the midpoint of the semester. What I'm going to be doing over the next several days, I know Dr. Todd may have already reached out to you as well, but we're kind of looking at in Grade Center about what's been turned in and where you're at in the accumulation of points, for the lack of a better word. If you do all of task 5, of course you've got other assignments in her course shell, but in my internship shell, if you do all of task in the APSL 1 through 5, and then you turn in your final evidence narrative, then you should have a total of 600 points. And I use that just to kind of track, of course, for grading, but also where you're at in the process. So at this point in time, most of you, all of you, unless there's some extenuating circumstances, should be setting, 200, at least 200 points or above. So that's kind of my measure at this point in the semester. If you don't have 200 points, or we haven't talked previously about your situation, then I'm probably going to reach out to you and check on you and make sure that you're in a good shape there. Because if you haven't got those 200 points, and it can still be done, but we're really going to have to hustle. So it's a matter of us having a conversation and talking over an individual plan. Dr. Todd, I think she had a session with you this week, even though you were on fall break, because as far as her course was concerned, you were off last week. So she may have already mentioned that to you. She's kind of looking at her course shell, seeing where you're at in terms of assignments. I'm going to be looking at the internship shell. Also, at this point in time, you should be loading up those artifacts in your competency folio. You really need to start that process here pretty soon. And just as a reminder, let me log in. And it's not really doing anything new. It's just taking what you've already done and putting it in a new place. So any artifact that you have accumulated during your work in the APSLs, then you can load it up here in these for these competencies. So just as a reminder there, communication, and be reminded also that under each competency, it'll tell you if the APSL is applicable for that competency. So you just load the artifacts up. You just pull them out, whatever format that you have them in, and you load them up here. You don't have to write a narrative. If you choose to write a caption just explaining the artifact, that's fine, but it's not required. If I have any questions as to what the artifact is or what it shows, then I'll let you know when I give you feedback on the comments when you request comments. But the important thing is, and you don't have to like load something up to communication and then ask for a comment. Load something up to customer focus isn't a good example, to conflict management, and then request a comment. Wait till you get everything that you have for this semester loaded up into this competency folio, and then you come over here and you request a comment. And that way I can look at them all at once. I'd really, like I said, I'd really like to have those, start flowing in. I'm not going to give you a deadline still at this point, but if you've finished ABSL Task 5, you finished the final evidence narrative, and you have uploaded to TaskStream the DRF. And once again, the DRF is a little bit different than a competency folio. The DRF looks like this. Once you've loaded that ABSL up in your DRF and you're waiting on evaluation, it may come quickly, or it may be as much as 24 hours. If you get towards the end of the semester where there may be a crunch, it might take a little bit longer than that. But once you've done that, then I'm expecting you to start working on that competency folio and getting your artifacts loaded up. And I'll kind of do a check in a few weeks. If you haven't given me requested comments on your competency folio, I'm gonna reach out to you individually and just kind of see where you're at in the process. Be reminded, speaking of the competency folio, not only addressing those leadership competencies that are applicable to the ABSL, but also by the end of the semester. And if this happens like the last week of the semester, I'm okay with it. But I need you to go ahead and upload the internship log as it is right now. Show me your 80 hours. If for some reason you don't think you're going to be able to pull out 80 hours this semester, then we need to have a conversation. Let me know, because we can work on that. And there may be, I've had candidates that think they didn't have 80 hours. Then when I've talked to them and asked them about some of the activities they've done and kind of give some examples of some things, yeah, they did have 80 hours. They just didn't know that it could be applied to the internship law. So don't forget that in the competency folio, not only do you have to upload your artifacts, but you also, by the end of the semester, have to upload your internship log. This is not for a grade. This is just for a fidelity check for this semester. We'll do that each semester until the end of the program, where you upload it for evaluation. This is not evaluation. This is just a fidelity check, seeing on where you're at in the process. I do want to go back to the DRF, because at the same time, once you've uploaded your ABSL and you've completed everything, you uploaded your ABSL, remember you're also going to need to do your competency analysis and your School of Ed disposition. Your School of Ed disposition is just clicking a box. Where do you think you're at? It'll give you a list of dispositions of leadership. Where do you think you're at? And at this point in time, it's just a self-assessment. You don't have to write anything. You don't have to make any comments. It's just a self-assessment of where you think you are at this point in time. Your competency analysis, this is where you recycle or reuse what you wrote in Task 5 for your reflections. Your reflections on the leadership competencies. All the competencies, 21 competencies are listed there. You didn't touch or engage all of those 21 competencies during this semester. So some of those you're going to put not met or needs improvement. Doesn't mean anything negative about you other than you haven't engaged that yet. And it's not expected for you to be 100% on each of those, because this is a growth model. The competency analysis and the School of Ed disposition is like a growth model. That's what we use to determine growth, because you're going to check in on the School of Ed dispositions in 603, and you're going to do your final competency analysis in 605. So the anticipation is that you will have shown growth from 601 throughout the semester to the end of 605. So it's okay that if you're not batting 1,000 on this, it's fine. The main thing is you don't have to recreate anything for the competency analysis either, because you can pull that information from your reflections in APSL Task 5. So a lot of people get competency analysis and competency folio confused just for that very reason of the titles. Just know that your competency folio is, you access that up here. That's where you upload artifacts. It does not have to be a narrative. It's just artifacts showing competency in each of those 21 competencies of leadership. Your competency analysis is here, and that's what you use. You can pull information from your APSL Task 5 to complete this. So that was just a quick review. Some things here at the end of the semester you need to be aware of. I know we're going to, I think our next session is November the 14th. We'll probably do a check then, and then I will probably give you, okay, this is when I need to see the competency folio. I need to see requests coming my way for comments on the competency folio. That needs to happen, it should happen before that next session. If it doesn't, then I'll probably be talking to you and give you a deadline at that point in time. At the end of the semester, you have to have all of this done. So if you feel like you're getting behind, or you're feeling like you need some help, or something happens, and some other cohorts I've already had some situations happen to some candidates, and we've had to work with them a little bit, and it happens every semester. And we understand, that's just life. So if life happens, let us know so we can kind of keep you on track to finish out the rest of the semester. So once again, I'm going to kind of open it up to see if anybody has any comments, any concerns, any questions, or if there's something else that you would like for me to go over, please let me know.
Would you remind me of the number of artifacts that we need to upload?
Oh yeah, great question, Megan. Okay, as far as the competency folio and the number of artifacts, that from the APSL, the main thing is you just upload one artifact for 601. What you will need to do is go into each of these competencies and look for the APSL indicator, knowing that in communication, I need to upload an artifact. What could that be? That could be an email from you to your PLC team about that first meeting, or that could be an email to you from you to your principal about setting up a PLC. That's what I see commonly in ways of APSL and communication. It could also be a link to a Google Doc where you guys maybe started a Google Doc and put up some of the things that you were wanting to look at and had comments on it. I've seen that before too. Then you would go to change management. Change management has opportunity for you to do an APSL. Well, just for the very nature of doing the needs assessment, doing the research on evidence-based practices, and then forming an action plan, that action plan, I think would be a good indicator of change management here. Conflict management, also here on the APSL. I've seen people use clips from video clips from a recording of their meeting where they kind of talk through some of the data that they were looking at, and just kind of maybe a disagreement on what was done or what was said, and they kind of come to a consensus on what they needed to, or even an email exchange on conflict management. Conflict management doesn't necessarily mean you have a kid in the principal's office over discipline, or a teacher. It doesn't necessarily need to be a negative thing. It can be some type of where there are two opposing views and you kind of work together, and it's just a show of collaboration where you've come together for one decision. I've read a lot of narratives where the candidate kind of had to take a leadership role and say, okay, I understand that, but we kind of want to guide it in this direction. So that, that's conflict management. Like I said, conflict, don't think of it in terms of a negative thing like most people think conflict is. It's just where you come together and work out a situation and come to a common resolution. Then you go to creative thinking. There's an indicator for an APSL there. Customer focus. If you'll notice in customer focus, there's nothing from the APSL there that could be applicable. You could say it's applicable, but just for the nature of the guidelines in the university, they're not looking for anything from customer focus at this point in your master's career. Delegation, you know, when you get that PLC team together and you say, hey, you do this, you pull this, you pull that, you want to do this, great opportunity to show delegation there. And that's what I'm doing, just going through each one and looking here for an indication of the ABSL, and that's where you need to load the artifact up. If you think, I had a candidate ask one time here recently, it may have been somebody from this cohort, can we put in more? Yes, you can put in more. These are the guidelines. This is the minimum of what we see. If you remember, this is yours to use even past your graduating and getting a licensure as an electronic portfolio of your skills and development as a leader. So if you want to use more, that's fine, you can. You just need to meet the minimum. There should be at least, in terms of environmental awareness, there should be at least one artifact that comes from your activities in the CAP, one that comes from your activities in the SIAP, and then an open-ended. And you can put as many open-ended ones in as you want to, as long as you have something here and here. So in terms of put it more in the context of where we're at right now. If you got other examples of delegation, great, put them in here. That's fine, but at least one of them needs to be coming from what you've done in the ABSL. I'm going to check in with the. Let me look here. Yes, the same artifact can be used more than once. Your action plan can be used in several areas. That's a great question. Yes, it can. That, you know, just like I said, as far as the action plan goes, that could be good for creative thinking, could be good for change management, could be good for delegation. So it can definitely be used in more than one area. Good question. And that's happened before, and there's never been a question or a problem with it. Okay, any other question?
And so something as simple as, Dr. Willis, as emails, copy of emails attached, that kind of thing as well, pictures?
Yes, absolutely. It can be as simple as that. It sure can. Yeah, it can be a picture of you leading a team. That kind of brings back to where the thought of using the caption might come in handy. If I see a picture of you in front of 3 people, that might not tell me anything about, and we'll just leave it here in delegation. There might need to be a caption saying meeting was held September the 16th, where roles and responsibilities were handed out to the participants of the PLC team. And if I don't, that's why it's so important for you to go ahead and be getting these in and request comments. It's the same thing with your task. If I don't think they will be approved by the university when they're evaluated, I'll work with you to change that. So if I have any questions, I may say, hey, it would be best, you know, what is this? And I don't see it as evidence of their leadership competency or this particular competency. You tell me what it is. I say, okay, well, that's great. That makes sense now. Why don't we just put it in the form of a little caption or a little comment section, add a little text box to it that kind of explains it. So I just, you know, I kind of individualize it to what you bring to me. And that's a good thing also about me reading through all of your task, and especially as we get into 603 and 604. By 603, as we work together, I'm going to know you. I'm going to know how you write. I'm going to know how you think. I'm going to know a lot about your school, kind of what you've done in the past. And when we form, that's the great thing about following a candidate all the way through the program, is we form that relationship. And, you know, we'll get to the point where we say, okay, I see what you're doing here. And it makes sense to me. Somebody looking at this fresh or may not, so let's add this. So I'll get a little bit better of knowing who you are and your particular situation, and individualize that according to what fits best with what you submitted. Any other questions, or can I help you guys with anything else? These are great questions. You always do ask great questions. Great thing about this cohort is Dr. Todd, and with other cohorts too. I didn't mean it like that doesn't happen, but Dr. Todd does such a great job of explaining and working through this with you. So you guys are well prepared. This is a good group, and you've got a great course instructor in Dr. Todd. And that always makes it good. Actually, the course instructors I've had for the last several semesters have been really good. But yeah, you guys don't ask a lot of questions because they've already been answered, and you're doing well. This is a great cohort. And yes, I say that to all the great cohorts. I'm not just saying it to you. I say it to all the great ones. To the ones who aren't great, I don't say anything. So I know what you're thinking.
Can the Absol itself serve as an artifact? I'm thinking like if someone addresses conflict within their narrative, but there's not actually like a photo or a video of it, can you pull a section of the Absol?
That can better, and I'm not saying you can't do that. And Megan, it's another great question. I'm not saying that you can't do that. It might require a little explanation and a conversation on our part. When the evaluator in terms of looking at this for licensure is not looking for a narrative, they're looking for an artifact, a product that was created because of that. So, okay, where would that fit? Let's say you're having a meeting and in the narrative there is an opportunity for conflict, some type of conflict resolution, and you wrote about it in your narrative. Well, how can I use that in an artifact? Well, is it in the minutes of the meeting? Now, the minutes of that meeting, those minutes was a product that was created because of you working with the PLC team. So the minutes of the meeting would be more accepted as an artifact than just a copy and paste of your narrative explaining what happened. I'm not saying it won't work, and it has in the past, but it would require a conversation, or I would really need to look at it and kind of get a good understanding of what your thinking was for including it. So that is a great question. If there's something that's happened in the narrative, then I would recommend that you go in the minutes of your meeting to find that, especially if it was a dialogue between people. Go into the minutes of the meeting or the agenda notes. I've even had candidates take a picture of their handwritten notes that they took during the meeting, and there was lines and arrows and scratch outs and stuff like that. Took that and uploaded it as an artifact, and that flew by just great. So think of it in terms of something that was kind of created that I could put my hands on to show. If you don't have that and you still want to show it, then let's talk about it. Yeah, I saw some things. Let me look at the chat box real quick. Yeah, great. Minute. I'll get it in a minute. Minutes from the meeting. A great opportunity to show those things. Great opportunity to show those things. Good questions. And if I respond to a question and it didn't help you or it didn't quite make sense, ask me to explain myself or to repeat myself, especially when I make comments on your task. I don't have a problem doing that at all.
About the 600 points. So is that when you're saying the final drop box? Is that where you're getting 600 from?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Task 1 all the way through task 5, and then the final evidence narrative into the Dropbox is the 600 points that I'm looking for in terms of your internship shell. And then the competency folio, that'll all be evaluated kind of at the end. These are just fidelity checks here in TaskStream. But as far as the internship shell goes, yes, that's where the 600 points are coming from. Good question.
And that's on your shell and on her shell?
No, that's just on my shell because Dr. Todd, I believe, she's probably got some other discussion board questions and some other assignments posted that you've done and completed and turned into her. So her number may be a little bit different than mine. Yeah, because you have the course shell, then you have the internship shell. I'm only talking about my part with the internship shell. Good question for clarification. Yeah. All right. I don't want to cut anybody short, so feel free to interrupt me if you have a question. We're about 30 minutes in, and our next session, like I said, is November the 14th. If there's anything that you need to know before then, I'll certainly get in touch with you. I'll be looking and seeing where you're at. I mean, this, like I said, this is a great cohort. So I'm probably not going to send a lot of emails out from this cohort. But I will contact you, and if you have a problem, just let me know what it is. It is not too late to work through it and get it on task. And get it going. We can still make it. Just let me know what the situation is, and we'll work with you the best we can. In the meantime, before we meet again, if you go out trick or treating, stay safe and take care of your kitties. Make sure that they got on reflective clothing and stuff, or definitely go out before dark. I seen something come up on the chat, so let me check one more time. Yeah, individual Zooms. If you need, that's a good question. What if I need the individual Zoom with you about something, or our group wants to Zoom with you? And when I'm talking, as you're talking to me, Dr. Bullis, I need to Zoom with you. When's a great time? It varies. It really does. The best thing to do is go ahead and let me know as soon as possible that you want to Zoom, and about 3 to 4 days before you want to, and we'll just have to work it into the schedule, because my schedule rarely stays routine. People talk about being in a rut. I would love to be in a rut. I would absolutely love to be in a rut where I was doing the same thing every day, same routine, same time. I have never in my life been able to get in a rut. So it does vary, but we will work it out. Just let me know when you want to Zoom, and we will work it out. It really depends too on what's best for you, because I know you guys are working during the day. I'm doing classes and cohorts at night. So plus I've got a daughter who's a cheerleader at the high school. And so, of course, they're my Friday nights right now at the varsity games, watching her, and then we get ready to kick into basketball season. So that's going to be Tuesday and Thursdays. But I can step out and Zoom in the car if I have to. So just let me know. Just let me know. We'll work out it. I can Zoom early in the morning, or late in the evenings, or at lunchtime. Usually I try to keep Sundays, from just as a family day. I usually try to get that, but that's not saying that I won't Zoom with somebody on Sunday if that's best with you. So just let me know. We'll work it out. Now, you all stay safe and healthy until I see you again. God bless each and every one of you. And if you need me, just let me know. You guys have a great evening. Thanks again for coming and being with me for a little bit. We'll see you next time.